Nom 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 nom. Oh, nom 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 nom. Ah, bye-bye.
Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I thought I'd start the new year off right with a fun, low-stress project, and this is a commission for a Patreon member, so thank you so much, Ashley. I knew I wanted to rework an original licensed Cookie Monster plush, so after searching online, I found one for relatively cheap and went ahead and washed it, dried it, and started stripping off the original pupils. I at first thought I was going to be able to build a mouth with like aluminum foil, so you can see I'm just like shoving it in there. And I quickly realized that it wasn't going to work and it was just going to be too messy. And I wanted to keep this style very clean, not too much grunge. I came back to the mouth idea later on and focused first on the eyes. Cookie Monster really has funky looking eyes. He always has pupils that are facing different directions. And since I got rid of his pupils, I wanted to bring back that effect using eyelids. So I started to sculpt a droopy eyelid and sort of like a half-closed eyelid to make him look unhinged. I do have experience with baking clay on plastic because I have used button eyes before with my dolls, and because I have to shove the button eyes into the face before I bake, usually the plastic's okay. This time it came out kind of warped because the clay was wrapped around the plastic bits, and I think they were made out of like ping pong material, so they just didn't hold up well in the oven. This left me with a lot of cracks throughout my sculpt that I had built around the eyes, and I just went ahead and filled it in with Milliput. Milliput is a type of epoxy clay, so it's two parts, you mix them together, and it creates kind of like cement when it dries. So it's really tough, really hard to break, and it's the perfect thing for filling in these cracks. Unlike Super Sculpey, which is what I used for the eyes, Milliput can be blended with water. So I went ahead and just put some on my fingers to really blend in those edges and not make it so obvious that I was patching up cracked work. Once I finished patching up those eyes, I had to let it dry overnight to really set that clay. I sculpted a few things off camera, like Cookie Monster's teeth and his cookies. This was the one specific request that Ashley had for her plush. She just wanted him to have cookies. So I made two different types of cookies and then got to work on the teeth. I recently discovered this hack where I can glue little bits to like a paintbrush or something just to make it easier to paint and not get it all over my fingers. I just use hot glue, pop them onto the stick, and then at the end I can just pop them right off, and it makes it really easy to paint a bunch of tiny things in a batch. After thinking a little bit longer on how I wanted to create the mouth for Ashley's Cookie Monster, I figured that it would be really heavy if I used a clay base, so I just went ahead and added glue and added the teeth into the already existing mouth. The first type of glue that I'm using is a matte finish Mod Podge. Mod Podge is amazing for holding pieces in place, especially clay on plush. It really latches on to those faux fur fibers and just locks those pieces in place. I didn't try to do anything too realistic with these teeth. I just wanted them to look like goofy little Muppet monster teeth. One of my favorite things about Muppets and their character design is that they're always really lovable and very rarely scary, despite how different their features are. I also wanted to use this video not only to show this Cookie Monster that I'm making, but also to talk about some of the goals that I have for next year. I've always loved long form content. I prefer YouTube to TikTok or Instagram in the way that I can just really sit and commit to what I'm watching. And I'd really like to make content like that. I enjoy filming what I do, and to be able to talk about it and answer questions about it and just show the parts of it that I normally have to cut out, it would mean a lot to me. I often take videos of things that I do and I just let them sit to the side and I don't edit them, or I'll just edit clips for TikTok and the rest of it just goes in the trash. So I'd like to get it out there more. I'm rambling, but that's just to say that I really want to focus this year on making content that is more educational, or at least a little bit more entertaining than just a 15-second clip or a 7-second clip, or whatever the algorithm is going to prefer. But let's get back to Cookie Monster. Cookie Monster very rarely is not eating a cookie on screen, so I made sure to put one in each of his hands and just attach them using hot glue. Once I finished those details, the last part was to work on his eyes. There was a few sources of inspiration for his eyes, one being like cartoon snails. I can't remember the one I'm thinking of, maybe it's Turbo, but there's a lot of movies where I feel like snails have these sort of like sad eyes, so I just wanted to do that but make it look chaotic. I was also inspired by the mayor's eyes in Nightmare Before Christmas, where he has like the spiral around them. And overall, just wanted to make him look like he had had one too many cookies and was maybe experiencing a sugar rush, something like that. And the final step for everything is to add a pop of gloss with UV resin. I used UV resin all over both of the eyeballs for Cookie Monster, and then I also added some to his mouth. UV resin cures with UV rays, which is also available in this little nail curing kit that I bought a long time ago. I've just been using the same light for a while and it works pretty well. Sometimes it stays a little tacky, just depending on like the amount of resin I'm using, so I'll just take him outside later on and just let him sit in the sun for a bit to fully cure those eyes and leave them like hard plastic. I thought it'd be a lot harder to reattach the eyes just because I'm like shoving them back into these plush holes, but it was actually pretty easy. It just required a lot of hot glue. It took a few minutes for the hot glue to set, so I just had to make sure that I kept smashing down those eyeballs into the fur, make sure that it was really holding on, as well as pulling the fur around the eyes out a little bit just so it wasn't getting caught underneath it and not letting them sink inside of the plush. Once I had all the pieces assembled, it was just about finishing touches around the mouth. I had consulted Ashley on seeing what kind of details she wanted around the mouth. She didn't give me much to work with, but she did ask for some black goo. So I made sure to give him some residue around his teeth before going in with the UV resin once again. And you might be wondering, why are you going in with clear UV resin? Well, in order for UV resin to set, it has to be clear, or at least mostly transparent, because the UV light needs to go through the resin in order to cure it. So what I did to get the shape of the goo first was set that resin down, cured it, and then I went in with black paint on top off camera. The great thing about UV resin is that it performs like goo, so you really don't have to do much to let it set in place. You just kind of catch it as it's dripping down. And just with that, Ashley's monster is finished. The biggest of thank yous to my Patreon members, especially Ashley for commissioning this piece. It meant a lot to be able to start the year off with creating something for one of my supporters. I can't wait to do more this year. If you're not already subscribed, feel free to do that below, as well as check out all of my socials and Patreon. I also release monthly creations over on my website. You can find that below, shop@artoftravesuras.com. And catch you on the next one.